Alright guys, the Cullman Kayak Anglers first tournament about to get underway here in a day or two. Got my practice in. Everything's good on my end. I got my baits that I'm fixing to go over and show you what I'm going to do during the tournament, and at the end of the tournament we'll see how that works out for me. My fish have been found shallow, and I found where I was going to fish about anywhere from a month to 3 weeks ago. I found out the fish had moved up shallow, way ahead of what I would consider normal. The water was 49 degrees. I found fish in 2 feet of water. To me, that's odd. You guys that fish a lot looking for pre-spawn bass, you might not think that's so weird, but to me it was odd because I spent a lot of time looking for fish deep and accidentally came upon them and found them shallow. My baits for the tournament, my first one foremost is going to be a spinnerbait. The water has already been muddied up due to rain, and if I'm not mistaken, we're going to get more rain. So the spinnerbait with the big Colorado blades, it puts that vibration out. That's going to be my #1 bait for the tournament. The old jig and trailer is going to be my backup. How this will all play out on tournament day, I'm not sure, but that's my game plan. That's where I found my fish. They are shallow around the grass patches. They are shallow in the timber, and if they're not there on tournament day, I will probably zero, because I am pretty much hell-bent on that's where I'm going to fish, and we won't know till the end of the tournament. So you guys stick around, and hopefully I get to run my cameras during this tournament. I know it's supposed to rain, or at least they're saying it's supposed to rain during part of this tournament, and I can't run my cameras in the rain, but if I get windows of opportunity to run them, I am. And then whatever happens, if I've got footage, I'm going to bring it back to you and show you what I did, why I was doing it, and then at the end I'll show you where I placed. And pretty excited, first one of the year, so let's go get them. You guys stay safe out on the water, and I'll see you at the end. Have a good day. Alright guys, my tournament started out like everybody else's tournament. We had a lot of moisture in the air. It was like a big cloud came in and sat on us. Rained off and on most of the morning. Didn't get to turn my cameras on until about 10, somewhere between 10 and 11. So I missed probably 4.5 hours of running my camera at the beginning of this tournament. Unfortunately, that's when most of my fish catching went on. During the rain, my spinnerbait bite, man, it was awesome. I was having a blast, but I was a little frustrated. I didn't get the footage I wanted. But what I'm doing here, and what I did for most of the tournament, you can see this big tree was one of my favorite targets. These kind of targets were great the last 2 trips on this lake. Almost all the ones that I came to, I would get a bite, I would try to shake them off in practice, or at least on my last practice I was shaking them off. Felt really good about the timber in the water, and out in front of the timber, which you can't see very well, just some dark patches in the water, that's a big grass flat, and it's loaded with patches of grass all the way from where I'm actually sitting right now all the way out to the point. And in practice, this whole flat was just dynamite, and I tried to stay off of this lake 2 weeks prior to the tournament, knowing that the fish had already moved up shallow, and I knew exactly where I was wanting to start, and luckily I did get to start. And in the rain, picked up my first fish, was a 20-incher, and man, that really sets things on fire when you start out like that. But I worked these trees and I worked these flats just back and forth, crisscrossing, and really working them from every angle that I could get to. Now this next section here, it had the same type of cover, a lot of brush and timber, and this high water that we've got. This water wasn't near this high during practice, and this area also has grass. All this brush that's sticking out is running right out into some grass patches, which during practice, this was just fire. It was awesome. And during the rain early in the morning, all these different places that I'm going back over, I caught a lot of little fish. My keeper fish came off these areas, and I think all total of the day I ended up with like 25 fish. So they were biting really well for me on the spinnerbait early. This area right there, that is a perfect example of where my fish came. That is an excellent shot of what was good to me the last 2 and 3 weeks on this lake.
Some today, I don't know where he's been at. Yeah, they bumped me down. I was hanging around in there for a while. Just worried, so I just know what it does. It's still burning. Somebody saying that. Hey, don't believe that. Somebody just. You might know.
Guys, right about here, I was getting frantic for another bite and another upgrade. I had fished probably 1,000-yard stretch of bank without so much as a bite. And when this little guy here came along, man, it sent my adrenaline back rolling again, and felt like, hey man, we got a chance. I know the day was getting close, and we were getting close to being finished, and I'd never been so proud to catch a little fish. I think this one upgraded me about 1/4 of an inch, and I was proud to take him at that point. It had really been a grind for at least an hour and a half straight without a bite, maybe a little longer than that. And I thought, wow, hey, maybe they're gonna turn around and bite a little bit better toward the end of this thing. And I was hoping it would turn around and the bite would pick up like it did in the morning. Wasn't quite that good, but I moved on, got on this other section, and you can look here on to my right. This is a beautiful stretch, and I just knew if I worked it back and forth enough, there would be another fish and maybe another upgrade. And as you'll see, there was. And man, I worked this areas back and forth. This was one of my really good areas from practice. Pretty sure this yielded me a 5-pounder in practice, and this fish right here, I was so proud of it because I knew it had jumped me up several inches, which I desperately needed. And I was just hoping this next whole stretch was just going to be a blast from that on. But this would be my final cull for the day. I think I ended up with a couple more little bites. And but man, it was a lot of fun. It was a grind. Tons of fish were caught early, and I was proud that I had a really good morning, had a lot of fun, and ended up finishing 7th overall out of 22 anglers. Some of the best anglers that I've ever fished against in my whole career, and my hat's off to you guys that finished above me.